But the roots of this book actually stretch back 30 years. It is exactly 30 years ago this month when I was on my Christmas holidays that I sat and read this copy of a book by William Gibson called Neuromancer. Now, Neuromancer is a fundamental text. It introduces the word cyberspace to the world. It introduces the idea of virtual reality as a massive network space. The term the Matrix, which of course got used in the movies, comes from this book. And so, in some sense, this book established a vision for what the future was going to be like. And I completely bought that vision. I read this book and I was like, I know what I want to be doing with my life. I was already a firmware engineer working in networking. I was like, let's kick this up a level. Let's actually try to make these devices, these cyberspace decks. And so what I did was I founded a company called Ono-Sendai, which is the name of the company that makes the cyberspace decks in Neuromancer. We got Bill Gibson's permission. He was very gracious. And we started to work on what it would take in 1991 to develop consumer-level virtual reality. Consumer-level virtual reality costing less than $1,000. Most VR systems in 1991 cost north of $1 million. The reason for this was primarily a sensor problem. Virtual reality and augmented reality, at the end of the day, they're not really display technologies, they're sensor technologies. And there's going to be a lot of talk about what that actually means in practice in this talk. And so we knew that if we wanted to make cheap, affordable virtual reality, we had to solve the sensor problem. And so we did. This is the patent. This is a portion of the patent for what we called our sourceless orientation sensor. So this allows you to look around. It tracks yaw, pitch, and roll. And it does it for about $1. The nearest possible competing solution was about $100. So this was a fundamental enabling technology for consumer-grade virtual reality. And it came along just in time for a small company you won't have heard of called Sega to include in the design of their Sega Virtua VR headset. Now, I was involved in the design of this, and as you can see, the place just between the nose bridge, that's where our sensor sat in this design. So we designed the sensor. There was a market need for it. Now, this product was announced with great fanfare. It made the cover of Product of the Year for Popular Mechanics magazine, and then it was summarily and very quietly killed. And it wasn't until quite recently that Tom Kalinske, the CEO of Sega, announced the reason why. And the reason why is that when you try to generate a virtual world on an 8 megahertz, 68,000 microprocessor, what you get is something that's generally going to make the kids sick. And I was told privately that Sega was told by their attorneys that they were opening themselves up for the largest product liability lawsuit in history. So the integration of sensor data with the displays, which is at the core of virtual reality, has to be done in a way that is compatible with the body, or else the body is just going to kiss it goodbye. And of course, virtual reality went goodbye for basically around 20 years. My company, Ono-Sendai, imploded, but that actually turned out to be a good thing because it imploded at just the moment the web was starting to take off, and that left me free to work with Tony Parisi to create VRML, the first 3D language for the web, which of course has now been superseded by WebGL. But it was the beginning of a networked VR that was browser-based and entirely open.